Okay, good morning, class. So, before we proceed, everyone please switch on your videos. Okay, so you guys have practical exams, right? Starting from the second. So, let's discuss some topics from your practical point of view. Okay. Now, in your practical syllabus, there was only one topic from the cardio part. Okay, the rest were from the CBR part. The one topic from the cardio part was chest and pulmonary conditions, maybe that is chest physiotherapy. So when I said chest physiotherapy, so you need to know that chest physiotherapy, this includes your pulmonary rehab as well as your cardiac rehab. Okay, these two combined, this falls under your chest physiotherapy, because your chest or the thorax, it contains the lungs as well as the heart. Okay, these are the internal organs. So when you say chest physiotherapy, so you need to consider your heart as well as your lung as well. I have already explained these things to you, but just that I am summing this up. Okay, I have explained it to you about the cardiac rehab. I also explained about the pulmonary rehab. Now, what are the main aims of chest physiotherapy? You need to know that. So the main aims of chest physiotherapy is to maintain the lung hygiene, the bronchial hygiene. By hygiene, I mean their lungs or maybe your airways, they need to be clean. Okay, so how will you clean them? By clearing the secretions. So whatever secretions are present there, the mucus, so you need to clear them out. So these, and also along with this, you need to make sure that your lungs and your heart are at an optimum condition, so that whenever in need, maybe at great times like when you are exercising, you are in need of more oxygen. So in those times, you will need the optimum functioning of your heart and lungs. So secretion clearance and maintaining the optimum function of your heart and lungs, all these comes under your chest physiotherapy. So when I say chest physiotherapy, you cannot ignore the lung or the heart. Okay, the cardiac rehab and the pulmonary rehab combined together, this falls under your chest physiotherapy. Now there are several things which comes under your cardiac rehab and pulmonary rehab. The first one was your breathing exercise. I already explained that to you about the breathing exercises, how they help in expanding your lungs. Okay, so I gave you the videos also, and I gave you the notes as well, and I also demonstrated those exercises. So when you will have the exams, so maybe, I don't know, but maybe your external might ask you to demonstrate the exercises. So you better practice the exercises in the right way, the way I have shown it to you. Okay, and those videos, the video of the classes are also present in the YouTube channel. Okay, so you can go there, that is Additive Diploma. So you can go there and check the class where I did those exercises, I demonstrated them. Apart from that, I have also sent you some other YouTube links, so you can go there, check the links. Okay, check those videos and also read the notes. Okay, how the mechanism is. If you read the notes, then you will also, the instructions are given how it is performed. So according to that, you try doing the exercises by yourself, because the external examiner might ask you to demonstrate them. Okay, so that I wanted to say about your breathing exercises. Now, pulmonary rehab, I already explained that to you. Cardiac rehab also I explained to you. Okay, so, and do not think that breathing exercise are a different part. Okay, just that it was a different unit, so I explained it separately, but it is also a part of your pulmonary rehab only. If you go through the notes, you will get to see that in the pulmonary rehab part, I have mentioned about the breathing exercises. So now the questions might come as such. Okay, so I'm saying this from the practical point of view. I don't know whether this will be asked or not, but the thing is, if the examiner asks you what will you do for pulmonary rehab, so Along with the notes that I gave you, you can also add up the breathing exercises. I have written it there. I have mentioned the word breathing exercise there. So under the breathing exercises, again you have 4 different types, right? Segmental, diaphragmatic, pursed lip and glossopharyngeal. Now, questions might be such as, if you have gone through the notes and also if you have attended the classes, you will know that I said it to you several times that glossopharyngeal breathing, it is used in case of your restrictive lung disease. Now, if a condition is given to you that a person is suffering from pneumonia, suppose, okay, if a person is suffering from pneumonia, so what will you do? What will you give for breathing exercises? So you better mention glossopharyngeal breathing there, okay, rather than just simply grossly saying that breathing exercise. If you mention that glossopharyngeal breathing, we can give it in case of pneumonia. Now if you know that pneumonia is a restrictive disease, and then if you go back to the anatomy and the pathoanatomy, how the restrictive disease were affecting your airways and your lungs, that your lungs were stiff, okay, there was problem in inhalation. So in case of your restrictive disease, now since pneumonia is a restrictive disease, there will be problems of inhalation in pneumonia as well. So glossopharyngeal breathing you can add up there. Now if the question comes like asthma, okay, or maybe bronchitis, bronchiectasis, so these all falls under your obstructive lung disease. Now what is the problem in obstructive lung disease? There is problem in exhalation. So rather than saying breathing exercises will help, you better say pursed lip breathing and diaphragmatic breathing, okay. So these will help. But let me tell you, if you know what is pursed lip breathing and what is diaphragmatic breathing, only then you mention about those, because once you say the words, the external will think that okay, this person knows, so let me ask something more. So you better read up the breathing exercises properly before mentioning about that, okay. So that will be a better option. So that I wanted to say you regarding the rehab parts. Clear these things? Is it clear whatever I said? You all have any doubts regarding this cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab, breathing exercises? Okay, now tell me, to maintain the lung function and then to maintain this lung expansion, so whatever you did was your breathing exercises, okay. But to clear the secretions, what will you do? To clear the secretion from the lung, what are the techniques that you will do? I have mentioned this several times, but it's okay if you don't know, then I'll explain it again since your practicals are nearing. So you better let me know if you know this or you don't know. What are the techniques that you will use to clear the lungs, that is to clear the secretion from the lung, or the question might be as such, to maintain the lung hygiene. So tell me, what are the techniques that you will use? Yes, anyone? Do you remember me saying some words, percussion, vibration? Do you remember those? I also sent some YouTube links in the group. Anyone remembers that? Percussion, vibration? do you all remember about postural drainage? Yes, okay, good. That at least you remember whatever I said in the class. Do you remember about postural drainage? How this postural drainage helps? I have shown this to you, okay, about postural drainage when I was doing the class for pulmonary rehab. So I don't know how many of you have attended it, but still I want to repeat this. Postural drainage is actually a technique where the person or the patient he adapts different postures. Why? To remove the secretion from the lung. And how will it be removed? With the help of gravity. Okay, this is gravity assisted. So as you can see in the picture, a person he is lying in different positions. Now after knowing in which lobe the secretion is present, that you will know through the different investigations done. Okay, so after the investigations or after a physical examination, that is maybe through auscultation by a stethoscope. So by doing these things, you will get to know which lobe of the lung is affected. So once you know about that, which lobe is affected, so in after that you place the patient in different positions so that gravity can assist in moving the mucus or the secretion into the upper airways, and so that it can easily be spitted out through the mouth. Okay, so that the lungs can be cleared. So this is postural drainage. So if you do not want to go for the bookish definition, so because in practical examination all they will check is your knowledge, so rather than going for the bookish definition, if you can say that postural drainage, so it is a technique which helps to remove the secretions from your lungs. And how will it be helpful? By the assistance of the gravity. Okay, so that is simply what you mean by postural drainage. Now for different lobes of the lung, there are different positions that you can adapt. Okay, suppose if you have secretions in the upper lobe of your lungs, suppose, okay, if you have secretion in the upper lobe of the lungs, so what will be the position that you will adapt is sitting with back supported. If it is present on the anterior segment, so you will be sitting with your back supported. If it is present on the posterior segment, that is the posterior apical segment, then you will sit with your head down on a table. Okay, suppose the secretions are present in the lower lobe. Okay, lower lobe, suppose in the right side of the lateral segment, so the patient will lie on the left side in a 45-degree head down position. So now you can get an idea that for different lobes of the lung, there are different positions. The different positions that you are seeing here are adapted to clear secretion from different lobes of the lung or from different parts of the lung. Okay, and regarding which position you need to adapt when there is secretion, like depending upon where the secretion is present and which position you should adapt according to that, I'll send you a picture. Okay, so from that you will get to know what should be your position when the secretions are present in the upper lobe or in the middle lobe or in the lingula or in the lower lobe. There are different positions. Okay, so simply by saying this you will not remember, so better I'll send you the positions, the patient position, so from there you can read up what position can be adapted. Okay, just that there will be a difference whether the person will be lying supine or whether he will be prone or the person will be sitting. So this depends on which segment of the lung the secretions are present. So I'll send you that, you can go through it, but for now you just need to know what is postural drainage. So postural drainage is a technique to clear the secretion from your lungs where the gravity assists the secretions and the patient adapt different positions. Clear what is postural drainage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So after postural drainage, along with it, okay, along with the postural drainage, as you saw that there were different positions for where the patient was lying in. So along with postural drainage, you can add some manual techniques. Now I also mentioned about the manual techniques, percussion, vibration. Okay, there is another manual technique which is known as shaking. Okay, through these three techniques, percussion, vibration and shaking, you can assist the clearance of secretion. Like if there is less amount of secretion, gravity itself will help in clearing the secretions. But if the amount of secretion is more, you need to adapt these manual techniques, that is percussion, vibration and shaking. There are also some contraindications where you cannot do the postural drainage or the other manual techniques. Maybe some untreated conditions, okay, when you have blood in your sputum, that is hemoptysis. Okay, in case of your pulmonary embolism, I taught that to you what is pulmonary embolism. In case of your pneumothorax, okay, cardiac arrhythmia, recent neurosurgery, because in case of recent surgeries you need to adapt certain postures. Okay, so if you deviate from that particular posture, so it will again be a side effect to the recent surgery. So depending upon what condition the patient is in and if it will be helpful or if you can move the patient in different postures, only then you can go for postural drainage. Okay, now along with the postural drainage, that is simply when the patient is lying in gravity assisted position, along with it you can add these manual techniques, that is percussion, vibration and shaking. Percussion, I have given you the video. I also explained it in class how your hand should be. It should not be flat. Your hand should be in a cupped position. And after it is in a cupped position, now depending upon where the secretion is present, you start giving the percussion, okay, to the chest wall. Now if it is present on the upper lobe, so maybe you will give percussion just near your beauty bone or the clavicle. If it is present in the lower lobe, so you will give it below the breast. So these are the different positions that you need to think of where you apply percussion or vibration. So I explained these techniques in class, and along with that I have given you the videos. So go through them, okay? Go through them once before your practical exams. Now what is shaking? Shaking is nothing but it is also vibration only, but it is in a more vigorous form, and it is applied during exhalation, that is when you breathe out, at that time the shaking technique is applied, and it is same as vibration, just that you are giving it in a more vigorous way, and also wide movements of the therapist hand. So I'll say you how it is done. Now I do not have a patient here, so all I can do is I can make you explain, and then I can send you the YouTube videos so you can go through those, okay, for shaking. So the therapist thumbs, okay, the thumbs of both the hands, they are locked together. After locking both the hands, the open hands are placed directly on the patient's skin and fingers are wrapped around the chest wall. Then the therapist simultaneously compresses and shakes the chest wall. That is, the hand placement or the posture of your hand is same as in vibration. That is, you interlock both the thumb and then you place the finger over the chest wall. After that, you start vibrating the chest wall. That is your vibration. And similarly, the same hand posture is used for shaking, and then you do vibration in a more vigorous form, and along with it you compress and shake the chest wall. Okay, so when you say about shaking, do not say that it is same as vibration. Okay, this is just to make you explain that the fingers and the hand, how they are placed, so these are same. Whenever you say about shaking, just say that the thumbs are interlocked, the fingers are placed over the chest wall, and the therapist needs to compress the chest wall and then shake the chest wall. But for your understanding, I am saying that shaking means nothing but a vigorous form of vibration only. Okay, so this was all about your postural drainage, and along with it percussion, vibration and shaking. Okay, let me check if I find out any video for shaking, I'll send it to you. So what is postural drainage? It is a technique where the person is placed in different positions and so that gravity can assist in clearance of the secretions. So that is postural drainage in simple words. So after placing the patient in these different positions, you can also adapt the manual techniques, that is percussion, vibration and shaking, so that if there are more secretions, this can come out more easily. Percussion and vibration, you know. Now I have also explained to you about shaking. I'll send you a link if I get it. So this was all about your percussion, vibration, shaking and postural drainage. I told you the indications and also the contraindications. Also in case of rib fractures, you cannot go for percussion, vibration or shaking because the ribs are already fractured. Now if you keep on tapping in that area or if you shake that area, so that will be a worse condition. So do not go for percussion, vibration, shaking when there is a rib fracture. Okay, and after it is treated, like after it is treated and after the fracture has healed or united, after that you can go for these techniques. But before that, that is the untreated and the unhealed fracture of the ribs, you cannot go for these techniques. Clear? Okay. After that, there is an important technique which you call as autogenic drainage. Okay, so don't get scared that this is a new topic. So but the thing is, you know about this, just that you need to know when to use it and how it is done. Autogenic drainage, there is nothing different or new. Okay, because see, what I'm saying is, now this autogenic drainage that I'm saying you, this autogenic drainage, this one also you can do by yourself only, so pay attention to this. Okay, what is autogenic drainage? So by drainage, now you know that when I say drainage, that is to maintain the lung hygiene or to maintain the airway hygiene and to clear the secretion, that is drainage. Now when I say autogenic, so by the word you know that autogenic means it can be done by yourself, right? So you do it by yourself. So here the speed of breathing, okay, the speed of breathing is changed to move out the mucus. You just listen to it now. Okay, afterwards I'll send you the notes so you can go through it, but for now you just listen to what I'm saying, try to understand this. Autogenic drainage, so it is a self drainage technique, that is you do it by yourself, you don't need a therapist assistance. Okay, and here what you do is you use different speed of breathing, different speeds of breathing to move the mucus out. And you also learn to control your breath. Okay, now there are 3 phases in autogenic drainage. This is nothing but the simple breathing technique only, that is taking in air and moving out the air. But what I said is it uses different speed of breathing, that is your speed of breathing will change along with it the whole time. Okay, the whole time of the breath will be changed. There are 3 phases. Number 1 is unsticking, number 2 is collecting, number 3 is evacuation. So when I say unsticking, This means that moving the mucus or the secretion from the small airways. Small airways may be from your alveoli or your bronchioles. These are the smaller airway. So this is moving the mucus from the smaller airway, unsticking them from the smaller airway. This first phase will help in unsticking the mucus from these small airways. Number 2 is moving mucus from the smaller airways to the medium size airway, that is collecting. So what are the medium size airway? Your bronchus, right? So your bronchus are the medium size airway. So the second phase, how it will help is, first phase was unsticking, that is unsticking the secretion. Second phase is collecting these secretions in the medium phase airway. Now the third is evacuation. So what is evacuation? Evacuation means moving the things out from your airway. So this is moving mucus from your medium size airway to the large size airway to be coughed out. What is the large size airway? Your trachea. That is, at first you try to unstick or separate the secretions from your small airway, then you try moving them into your medium size airway, after that into the large airway, that is the trachea, and ultimately you try to cough it out. Okay, so these are the 3 phases. Now how will you do these phases? So that is important. So also you might be asked to demonstrate this. Okay, so listen to this. How will you do that? First phase, you will start with breathing control, that is air in and air out. Simply breathing in and breathing out, you will start it. After that, you will relax. After that, what you will do is you will take a deep breath through your nose. After that, once you feel, okay, deep breath, and after taking the deep breath, you will let all the air out. Okay, and you will let it out till the time you feel that your lungs are empty of air. So once you feel that your lungs are empty, that means you have exhaled out all the air that you took in. So you will have the feeling that now your lungs are empty. So once they are empty, what you do is you take in a small breath of air through your nose. Okay, a small breath. Okay, a small breath. Remember that, a small breath through your nose, and you will hold it for 3 seconds. 3 seconds. After that, you will exhale the air out, and you will repeat this 2 times. Okay, you will repeat this 2 times. At first you will breathe in, then breathe out. After that, that is a normal size breath. After that, a deep breath, and then you will blow all the air out. After you feel that your lungs are empty, you will take a small breath of air. After that, you will hold the breath for like 3 seconds, and then you will exhale all of the air out. And this whole process, you will repeat it 2 times. So this comes under your first phase, that is unsticking or moving the mucus from the small airways. After that comes your second phase, which is moving mucus from the small airways to the medium sized airways, that is collecting. Okay, so what will you do here is take in normal size breaths. Okay, you will take in normal size breath, hold the breath for 3 seconds. In the first phase, you took a small breath, right? Here, in the second phase, you will take a normal size breath. Now hold this breath for 3 seconds. This is same for both the phases. And then with some gentle force or a normal size force, you will exhale all of the air out of your lung. And this will make you feel as if you want to cough, but do not cough. Okay, do not cough here, but hold the cough to the very end. And then repeat this till 3 times. Okay, you will feel as if you want to cough here, but you do not have to cough here, and you have to repeat this 3 times. So the first phase was a small breath in, hold it for 3 seconds, and then a small breath out. The second one was a normal size breath, hold it for 3 seconds, and then a normal size breath out. After that, the third phase, that is moving mucus from the medium size airway to the large airway, that is evacuation, and then finally coughing it out. So taking a deep breath. Okay, as the phases are changing, In that way, your speed of breathing is also changing. In first one, you took a small breath. Second one, you took a normal breath. And here at the third one, you are taking a deep breath. Now hold this breath for 3 seconds. After that, with a gentle force, exhale all of the air out of your lungs. Okay, and then you need to repeat this 3 times. And do not cough until the third breath. So you will repeat this phase also 3 times, and after doing it for 3 times, you can cough after that. Clear? First one, small breath in, 3 seconds hold, small breath out. Repeat the phase for 2 times. Second one, normal size breath in, normal size breath out. Repeat the phase for 3 times. Then the third phase, a deep breath in, deep breath out, 3 seconds hold, and repeat the phase for 3 times. Clear? This is the normal breathing only, but just that you are changing the speed of your breathing and the whole time. So this is known as your autogenic drainage. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now this each phase, okay, each phase, that there are 3 phases, so each phase should take like 2 to 3 minutes to complete. I told you that you need to repeat it 3 times, so you need to take like 2 to 3 minutes to complete these phases. And to complete all the 3 phases, you will need like 6 to 9 minutes, right? And then you will repeat the cycle. Okay, since this is a cycle, so what you will do is you will keep on repeating it until you feel that your lungs are cleared. Okay, as much as you can do, or as much as it is possible, and it should clear in between like 20 to 45 minutes. Okay, within that period, your lungs usually get cleared. If you keep on doing this and repeating this, your lungs will get cleared within that period of time. Okay, so this is the estimated time. Now, what are the benefits of this autogenic drainage is that you do not need any kind of equipment. Okay, you do not need any kind of equipment, because there are some techniques such as your spirometry. I have also explained it to you, okay, about spirometry. So kindly go through that as well. That is also important from your practical purpose. Okay. So go through your spirometry as well. I explain it to you in the class. I also gave you some diagrams maybe, and also I have given you YouTube links, so how it is used. Okay, so if you remember, it's well and good. If not, go through the notes, also go through the videos about spirometry. So in techniques such as spirometry, you need this equipment. Okay, you need an equipment with you to perform these exercises. But in case of your autogenic drainage, you do not need any equipment. Okay, so it can be done without that. In case of postural drainage also, you will need the bed which can be tilted to different angle, or maybe if you do not have a tilt bed, you have to use different pillows to adjust the angles. But here in autogenic drainage, there is nothing such. Okay, all you need to do is you need to sit and do these exercises, so no equipments are required here, and patients can do it independently, that is without the help of anyone, without the assistance of any therapist. The patient can do it by himself, and then less effort is required. So of course this is just a gentle breathing technique, the normal breathing that you do, so nothing much or complicated. Okay, so it is easier to do, but there are some disadvantages also. Patient who are below 8 years, okay, it is not done for them. Okay, and this technique is also difficult to teach to some patients. Okay, now you all know what is inhalation, what is exhalation, so you are can understand this, but a layman cannot understand this technique, why it is done, how it will be helpful, how it can be done. Okay, so this can be difficult to teach. And also the patient need cognitive ability to understand this, that is if the patient has got some mental illnesses, so that person will not be able to understand this technique. So even if it's easy, it cannot be done in those people who are lacking their cognitive ability. And also, to benefit from this technique, the patient needs to have moderate to large amount of sputum. Okay, because if there is small amount of sputum or like mucus or secretions, this will not help. Okay, you need to have moderate or large amount of sputum, only then this technique is beneficial. So clear about autogenic drainage? Okay, so this is easy. All you need to do is breathe in and breathe out, but with different speed. I have explained it, so maybe you might forget also the whole time and all that. So I'll send you the notes, so through that you can understand it better. Okay, so go through the videos properly. Okay, these are some important topics for your practical. Okay, you have the chest physiotherapy. So chest physiotherapy is vast. It is not like a single topic. So under chest physiotherapy, you will have cardiac rehab, pulmonary rehab, your breathing exercises. Then you have spirometry. Okay, the postural drainage, autogenic drainage, percussion, vibration, shaking. All these comes under your chest physiotherapy. Huffing and coughing. Okay, these techniques also come under your chest physiotherapy. Regarding huffing and coughing, we'll discuss it in details tomorrow. Okay, about huffing and coughing. But for today, you go through these. And also suctioning. I mentioned it to suctioning, that is also a practical purpose. It is also done to clear secretions. So if a question is been asked how to clear secretions or how to maintain lung hygiene, so you can include all this: autogenic drainage, postural drainage, percussion, vibration, shaking, and also suctioning. Now in suctioning you need equipments to do that. Okay, and it is only done in the hospital setups. Okay, rarely done in home setups. It can be done but rarely, but mostly it is done in the hospital setups only. And suctioning, it can be done through your mouth and also through your endotracheal tube. So these are some important points for suctioning. So tomorrow I'll teach you about huffing and coughing. And then there's huffing, coughing, and breathing exercises. All these combined, okay, all this combined, there is another technique which you call as ACBT, or active cycle of breathing technique. So these combined forms this technique: huffing, coughing, and your breathing. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll send you the notes for ACBT today. The techniques are same, but just that they are arranged in different way. Maybe first a deep breath is taken, after that breathing control, okay, after that huffing, then if required we go for coughing. So the same things, the similar techniques that I explained, just that it's arranged in a different way. So that is your ACBT. I'll explain it tomorrow properly along with huffing and coughing, but I'll send you the notes today. You can go through it, okay, once, so it will be easier for you to understand. Also go through the videos. If you want more videos, you can search in YouTube also. Okay, clear? So we'll wind up the class now. CR, you send me the attendance.
Okay, ma'am.